Hello students, welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture we are going to see about the two reaction theory. So the two reaction theory is applicable for silent pole alternators. In the previous videos we have discussed about the non-silent pole alternators that are cylindrical pole alternators. So in cylindrical pole alternators the air gap is going to be uniform because the periphery of the uh, cylindrical rotor alternator will be uniform, so that the air gap will also be uniform. The uniform air gap will give the field flux and the armature flux going to be very sinusoidal in nature, so that the reactance is also going to be constant over the periphery. Also, the field MMF and the armature MMF act upon the same magnetic circuit, so that they can be added vectorially. But in case of non-silent pole alternators, the silent pole alternators don't have any air gap which is uniform. So the air gap length will not also be an constant, and the reactance also. The field flux and the armature flux cannot vary sinusoidally, so the MMF will act indifferent in comparing to the non-silent pole alternators. So the two reaction theory will be dealing with this kind of different approach. Like it will segregate the armature MMF and the field MMF as two axes called the direct axis and the quadrature axis. The direct axis will be an axis which is acting along the pole axis. That is, whenever the pole is arranged in a 90-degree, that particular pole axis will be acting as an direct axis. And the axis which is right angle to that particular pole axis, which is going to be called as interpolar axis, that particular axis is going to be called as quadrature axis. Naturally, the direct axis can be magnetizing and demagnetizing in nature, and the quadrature axis is going to be cross magnetizing in nature. So here some of the phasor diagrams have been given. So since the armature quadrature axis and the direct axis components are going to be perpendicular to each other, so we will be having the flux of the direct axis to be in phase with this particular d-axis component, and the field flux which is going to be on the same axis, but it will be going out of phase with the direct axis component 180-degree. So the field axis component will be on this d-axis itself, but the direct axis component will be 180-degree phase shift to this particular d-axis component. Also, the q-axis component will be 90-degree 90-degree out of phase with the d-axis component. So if you add these two components, that are the q-axis and the d-axis components, we will be getting the armature component of the flux. So that is being represented over here. Also, the MMF of the direct axis and the quadrature axis are going to be in phase with the components of the flux of direct axis and the quadrature axis as shown in this figure. And also the currents corresponding to those particular axis components are going to be in phase with the MMF and the flux of those components. And also we can segregate the particular EMF component of the field axis field, or the MMF, will be 90-degree lagging behind this particular field. So the EMF of the particular field axis will be 90-degree lagging to the flux of the field component, and it will be in phase with the q-axis component of the machine. So we can also eventually add this direct axis and the quadrature axis components, and they can be formed into an armature current. So from this particular phasor diagram, we can come to a conclusion that the phi d, which is going to be the direct axis flux, which is going to be find out from the MMF, like with the help of the permeance of the pole arc oriented along the d axis. So that particular permeance will be reciprocal to the reciprocal to the reactance of the machine on the d axis. So also we can write this particular MMF as the multiplication of the number of windings on the armature. So KAR is going to be the number of windings on the KAR into ID, that is the direct axis component. Also we can write the q-axis flux as in terms of flux permeance on the MMF, like we have seen in this particular slide, and also we can represent the q-axis flux as permeance into the number of turns into the q-axis current. Also from the phasor diagram itself, we can write the EMF values associated with the d axis and the q-axis component with the help of the EMF constant of the armature winding. So this EMF constant is going to be derived from the EMF equation of the machine. So that particular EMF constant will be used along with the direct axis and the quadrature axis fluxes, and the corresponding direct axis and the quadrature axis EMFs can be found out. So the resultant EMF, which is addition of the direct axis and the quadrature axis EMFs, but the direct axis quadrature axis components will be added together to form the component of the EMF of armature only, but we will be having the EMF component of the field too. So the resultant component of the EMF will be the addition of the field axis component and the direct axis and the quadrature axis component. So we can substitute those values of the ED and the EQ from the previous slide. So we will be getting this particular equation, like ER is equal to EF minus J KE phi D minus J KE phi Q. So from the previous slide, we have found out the value of phi D and phi Q as shown in this particular slide, and if we are substituting those values in this particular equation, we will be getting ER is equal to EF minus J KE PD KAR into ID minus the same values of the Q axis component. And we can write the values which are coming like KE PD into KAR. So here the PD is going to be a permeance along the D axis, and the KAR is going to be the number of windings in the armature. So by making the multiplication of these parameters, we can get the reactance which is equivalent of the D axis component of the armature reaction. Also for the reactance which is equivalent of the Q axis component of the armature reaction can be said as an XQAR, and obviously this XDAR is going to be greater than the XQAR because the permeance of the D axis component will be higher, so that the reactance of the D axis component will also be higher. So from the previous discussion, that EF is equal to ER plus XDAR ID plus XQAR IQ. We can write this equation in the realistic machine point of view, like ER is equal to VT plus IARA plus JXL IA. So in this particular equation we have included the leakage reactance component of the realistic machine, because in this particular discussion we doesn't have leakage reactance component so far. So in realistic machine, in addition to the armature reaction component, we will also have the leakage reactance component too. So we need to include that component into our discussion. So by adding that particular component and by discussion, the IA will also be equal to ID plus IQ. So substituting that value in this particular IA and expanding this equation, we will be getting EF is equal to VT plus IARA plus J XDAR plus XL, because we are adding the values of the particular XL, which is a component of the voltage drop across the IAXL. So we will be adding that particular voltage drop component with the D axis and the Q axis components of the armature reaction. So by definition, these two additional values, that is the leakage reactance and the D axis component, can be come across with the as the D axis synchronous reactance component, and the Q axis synchronous reactance component can be said as an XQAR plus XL. Eventually, since the armature reaction component of the D axis reactance is going to be a greater, so the D axis synchronous reactance component will also be going to be higher. So from this discussion we can come to a conclusion that EF is equal to VT plus IARA plus ID plus XQ IQ. So this is going to be the final equation of the two reaction theory. But in order to find out the ID and IQ, since we don't have any practical method to find out the ID and IQ, we need to find out those values in terms of the other measurable terms. So we will be drawing the phasor diagram in view of the ID and IQ. So from the previous phasor diagram, we will be taking the ID and IQ. So ID and IQ can be taken like such we have seen in the previous phasor diagram, and the IA will be drawn as an vector addition of the two ID and IQ. So from the view of the previous slide, we will be having the EF to be in phase with the IQ. So that particular vector will also be drawn as shown in the figure. And since this particular machine is going to be an generator, we will be having the VT value which is lagging behind the generated EMF, because the VT the terminal voltage will be get in the machine by dropping some IARA drop and the IAXL drop. So we will be adding those two drops with the terminal voltage and we will be getting the generated EMF. So here we will be having the IARA drop which is in phase with the IA, and also the IAXL can be segregated into two components like IDXD and IQXQ, because the IAXL can be segregated into two components like we have seen in this particular figure. Here we can also segregate, we can also divide this particular IARA component into two terms too, because IA can be written as ID plus IQ. So we can segregate this particular component into two components like IDRA and IQRQ. So by adding these two vectors vectorially, we will be getting this IARA component. Also, we can do the measurements like we have seen in this particular figure. Like this particular measurement is going to be Vt cos delta, because the delta is going to be the angle between the terminal voltage and the IA, and also the psi, which is going to be an angle between, that is the generation angle, which is going to be angle between IA and the EF, and also the phi, which is going to be the power factor angle, which is going to be equal the angle between the Vt and IA. So we are using the same particular representation which we have used in the cylindrical rotor alternator discussions too. So the same component have been used here also. So by using that particular angles, we can find out this particular side is going to be Vt cos delta, and this particular vector, which is also going to be equivalent to the IQRA, and this particular side is going to be IDXD. So since we have seen we have this particular vector component at as IDXD, we will also have this particular vector component as IDXD. But since we are having this particular EF, we can have this particular A to be extended towards this particular point, and this particular extension is going to cut our IDXQ in this particular point. So we can form a particular triangle over here in order to having our discussion to be meaningful one. So since this is going to be an exterior angle, so this angle and this angle will also be going to be equivalent. So this angle is going to be psi, which is the generation angle between the EF and the IA. So this is going to be a particular triangle. So also we can get this particular side also from the previous values, like this particular value is going to be IDXQ and the whole value will be equivalent to the IDXD. So since this is going to be a bigger one and this is going to be a smaller one, we can subtract this bigger one, this smaller one from this particular bigger one as IDXD minus XQ. So this is going to be the part of this particular vector. So from this discussion, we can come across like the triangle ABC, which is going to be said as the cos psi, that is the particular cos value of this particular angle can be written as BC divided by AC. So the BC is eventually going to be IQXQ and divided by AC. So the AC can be got from IQXQ divided by the cos phi. We know that the IQ divided by cos phi, which is equivalent to IA, because we have seen that particular component over here. The ID component of the IA will be get by the sine angle of the psi, so that ID, which is equivalent to IA sin phi, and IQ, which is equivalent to IA cos phi. So from this equation we can come to one conclusion that IA is equal to IQ divided by cos phi. So from that discussion we can come across with the AC is equivalent to IAXQ. So from the phasor diagram itself, it is easily seen that AB is equal to IDXQ, because this is going to be the AB that is previously measured as IDXQ, which is also been represented here, and the CD, which is also equivalent to the BF, which is equivalent to ID into XD minus XQ. So the phasor EF can then be obtained by extending the OC by plus CD which is for generating machine, and minus CD for the motoring machine, so that we will be getting the equivalent EF from the diagram as E dash plus ID into XD minus XQ. E dash is going to be the phasor which is measured in the particular phasor diagram as OC. So this is how we can get the magnitude of the generated EMF in the salient pole alternator. Thank you.